I still remember the exact moment Bryce Caldwell hit mute on Marcus Riley. It was a Tuesday afternoon Zoom call. 30 of us crammed into those little video boxes. The kind where you can see everyone pretending to pay attention while secretly checking email. Bryce, with his perfectly tailored navy suit, monogrammed cufflinks catching the light, and that inherited confidence that came from being the CEO's only son, had just steamrolled through another 5 minutes of buzzwords about digital transformation and seamless cloud uplift. Then Marcus spoke up, calm, measured, the way he always did after 28 years in the trenches at Apex Freight Logistics. Before we commit to full migration, Marcus said, his voice steady like an old oak, we need to address Regulation 47.2 compliance. The physical continuity logs for customs-bonded shipments. Click. Blip. The mute icon appeared next to Marcus's name. Bryce didn't even pause. He flashed that toothpaste commercial grin and kept going. Appreciate the input, Marcus. But let's stay focused on forward momentum. We're not here to romanticize the old server racks. My stomach twisted the same way it always did when Bryce opened his mouth. I'd been with the company 8 years, handling regional coordination out of the Atlanta hub, and I'd seen plenty of hotshots come and go. But Marcus was different. He was the guy who remembered every port authority quirk from Miami to Seattle. The one who could recite customs manifest requirements without glancing at notes. People called him the vault behind his back, not because he hoarded secrets, but because nothing got past him. Bryce kept talking about Nexus Cloud Services like it was the second coming of logistics tech. 100% off-prem by end of quarter. No more dusty racks. No more badge access headaches. Pure scalability. Pure freedom. He beamed like he'd just invented supply chain management. What he called dusty racks, the rest of us knew as the backbone. The on-premise servers that synced real-time pallet tracking with CBP systems. One missed handshake, and we'd be looking at fines that could wipe out regional bonuses for years. I watched Marcus's face on the screen. He didn't flinch, didn't type furiously into chat. Instead, he reached over slowly, adjusting his webcam so the lens drifted until it framed the heavy steel door behind him, the entrance to Sublevel 3 core systems. The badge reader glowed steady red. No activity. Just that silent, unblinking light. Bryce didn't notice. He was too busy clicking through slides, promising the board that legacy systems were holding us back. After the call ended, a few of us lingered in the virtual waiting room, exchanging uneasy glances through our cameras. Lena from facilities raised an eyebrow. He knows something we don't, she muttered before signing off. Marcus's feed stayed on a moment longer. That red light staring back like a warning. I felt the first prickle of unease then, the sense that we were watching the calm before something irreversible broke. The next days blurred into a familiar rhythm of arrogance. Bryce strutted the open-plan floor in his Italian loafers, barking phrases like streamlining archaic roles and freeing sunk capital. Translation: Marcus's team was being carved up. Interns who barely knew RAID arrays from RAM sticks were handed pieces of the infrastructure pie. Time to retire the dinosaurs, Bryce told department heads during a stand-up. Eyes locked on Marcus, like he was euthanizing a relic. Marcus sat perfectly still. Pen paused above his steno pad. Listening in that way only someone truly dangerous listens, like every word was being filed away for leverage. Most people thought Marcus had checked out after Bryce gutted his responsibilities and reassigned them to the cloud rollout. They were wrong. Marcus started arriving earlier, leaving later. His desk became a quiet fortress of manila folders and printed logs. He didn't complain in meetings. He didn't fire off angry emails. He just watched. One afternoon I caught him in the hallway near the server room. The badge reader had been acting up, denied access for routine diagnostics. Carl from IT was cursing under his breath, slapping his card repeatedly. 5th time this week. What the hell changed? Marcus walked by without a word, but I saw the flicker in his eyes. Not anger. Calculation. Bryce hosted these awful vision lunches about decentralizing ownership. Marcus attended every one, silent as stone. Somewhere in that week, while the rest of us doom-scrolled or complained over coffee, Marcus made a change so minor, so buried in bureaucratic weeds, that it sailed past every tech lead and compliance officer. Badge access to Sublevel 3 wasn't revoked. That would trigger alarms and approval chains. Instead, it was quietly reassigned. His own credentials remained technically active but inert. Real door-opening power, the kind that pinged backend logs and registered on audits, now belonged to someone no one had ever met, Sophia Reyes. Sophia existed only in facility logs, buried under a vague initiative called Continuity Assurance Protocol 47B. I stumbled on her by accident while requesting access for an unrelated project. A pop-up routed me to refer to Audit Liaison S. Reyes. Clicking through led to a clean internal badge ID tied exclusively to Sublevel 3. My pulse kicked up. Something big was shifting beneath the surface, and nobody was talking about it. When I mentioned it casually to a colleague, he shrugged. Probably one of those legal shadow accounts for backdoor audits. But the onboarding trail pointed back to Marcus, direct placement, manual approval. Years before Bryce's cloud obsession took hold. Marcus wasn't being phased out. He was phasing in protections we didn't even know we needed. By the time Bryce sent the mass email announcing the legacy infrastructure deprecation timeline, the cracks were already forming. Subject line: out with the old. The body listed storage dumps, rack removals, data migration windows, all handed to Nexus Cloud with what looked like minimal oversight. No mention of continuity protocols. No reference to Regulation 47.2 physical access requirements for bonded freight pathways. Bryce thought he was sweeping away dust. He was actually severing the anchors that kept us legally compliant with customs and border protection. Marcus didn't protest. He didn't CC legal or grandstand. He just kept compiling. His binder grew fatter by the hour: email chains, screenshot logs, cross-references between internal policies and actual system behavior. Sections emerged, redundancy protocols disabled without documentation. Third-party vendor access granted without full SOC2 verification. Violations of 47.2 chain integrity. Shipments began stalling. A customs clearance freeze hit the port of Savannah. Pallet scans refused to sync with digital manifests. Trucks sat idle while agents flagged discrepancies. One container of industrial components mislabeled in the new system as unregulated goods. Bryce's response in the Friday all-hands: temporary latency. Growing pains. Once we're fully on Nexus, this vanishes. He waved at a colorful graph that meant nothing to anyone who actually touched the systems. IT ran in circles. They couldn't access the physical servers to roll back patches. The Nexus dashboard loaded intermittently, spitting permission errors demanding local physical verification. Carl slammed his hand against the server room wall again. Still denied. Security confirmed badge clearances had changed months earlier, single assignee only. No name provided. I walked past Marcus's desk that afternoon. He was printing, page after page, sliding into a new binder labeled Escalation Prep in plain Times New Roman. "What are you building?" I asked quietly. He didn't look up, just turned another page. "A timeline," he said, voice low. "One they can't rewrite." That night, attempts to enter Sublevel 3 failed again. The next morning, Bryce was pacing outside the steel door like a caged executive, flanked by interns, an assistant, and, inexplicably, an HR rep with a clipboard. He slapped his badge repeatedly. "Denied. Denied. Denied. This is my floor," he shouted. I'm the vice president of operations. Why can't I get into my own server room? Someone suggested looping in Marcus. Bryce scoffed at first. Why would the vault know anything? He's obsolete, but desperation won. 10 minutes later, Marcus sat across the glass-walled war room table. Steno pad in front of him. Hands folded. Bryce leaned in, practically vibrating. What did you do? Marcus met his gaze evenly. Nothing. He slid a single printed sheet across the table. Check the access list. Bryce snatched it. Only one name, Sophia Reyes. Sole custodial access under Continuity Assurance Protocol 47B. Bryce's face flushed crimson. Who the hell is Sophia Reyes? Marcus stood. She's on the access list. I'm not. Legal has the full log. You'll want to request it through them. Then he left without another word. The room felt heavier after he exited. Legal began, whispering, pulling internal databases. Eyes widened. The CTO stood abruptly and left. Bryce gripped the paper like it might transform. But even then, they still treated Marcus like a formality, a loose end to question, not a force to reckon with. They didn't realize yet that the system had already chosen its guardian. Later that day, Legal finally dug into actual badge logs instead of sanitized reports. Ava from Internal Review spotted it first. Who's S? Reyes? She's the only one badging into core systems since 47B activation. Blank stares. Not on Slack. Not in the HR system. But there she was, last swipe at 7:15 a.m. Authorized originally by M. Riley under mentorship protocols logged quietly years earlier. The realization hit like a freight train. Marcus hadn't just slipped her name in. He'd built her brick by brick through legitimate, documented channels that bypassed the usual visibility. A shadow mentorship under internal continuity initiatives. Time-stamped. Signed. Buried where only deep audits would find it. When they finally summoned Sophia, they expected an overwhelmed junior. Instead, she walked in wearing simple gray slacks and a navy blouse. Hair in a neat bun. Carrying a white binder with no drama. On the cover, Federal Regulation 47.2 Physical Access Integrity Requirements. She opened it calmly. Per subsection 3B, any transition away from hybrid storage systems involving customs-linked architecture must be supervised by a designated continuity custodian. I am that custodian. She turned pages methodically. All deactivations of on-premise systems tied to bonded pathways must be verified on-site by the liaison. That's me. Questions came rapid fire. Where is your manager? She flipped another page. Marcus Riley assigned me under Clause 14.3c of the Legacy Continuity Protocol. Authorized through 47B, which your office signed off on 18 months ago. The footer confirmed it. Faces paled. Sophia pushed the binder forward. You've triggered a procedural breach. I'm here to contain it. The room shrank. Lawyers who faced down SEC inquiries suddenly looked small. This wasn't spin or politics. It was law. Indexed and time-stamped, with Marcus's quiet architecture at its core. They didn't summon Marcus dramatically the next time. A quiet knock came at his corner office door. He entered the conference room carrying a thick manila envelope. The air pressure shifted. Legal sat with folded hands. HR had notepads ready. The CTO sweated through his collar. Marcus placed the envelope on the table. This is the full report, time-stamped. Signed. Every access log. Override. And 47.2 breach since Bryce's first escalations. This is a copy. Originals are with the oversight liaison. You filed it, someone whispered. Legally, Marcus replied. Escalation triggered 36 hours ago. The room froze. That meant external auditors already had it. Bryce burst in moments later, disheveled and furious. What is this? You can't appoint some ghost and lock me out. He slammed his own folder down. You've been sabotaging the migration. Marcus slid another sheet forward, signed, notarized. The mandate exception clause Bryce had approved without reading. You bypassed the stress test yourself. The company lawyer leaned in. We may need to suspend him. Not Marcus. Bryce. Arguments flew, but support evaporated. The CTO admitted he never approved the deactivations. Page after page in Marcus's report highlighted Bryce's initials on risky activations. Latency cascades across ports, critical risk flags, and estimated penalties of 8 to 12 million. HR stood. Bryce, let's take a walk. No one backed him. Marcus remained calm, clipboard at his elbow. He didn't need to smile. Over the following week, the system refused to stabilize. Nexus support blamed legacy interference, volume spikes, ghosted packets. But we knew the truth. The infrastructure no longer recognized its own fragmented self. Customs issued formal notices, discrepancies, non-compliance flags, preliminary penalties. The one-line internal memo was clinical. Bryce Caldwell is on leave pending review of infrastructure compliance concerns. Marcus returned quietly the following Thursday. No balloons, no fanfare. His new desk was on the executive floor, reporting directly to the audit chair. The CTO passed by later and mumbled gratitude for someone who understands the wiring. I noticed the whiteboard in his new office, Continuity Assurance Protocol 47B. 4 names listed, 3 crossed out. The last, Sophia Reyes. Marcus had mentored her long before Bryce ever touched the org chart. Succession built in silence, redundant, quiet, unbreakable. While Bryce had chased UI mock-ups and promo videos, Marcus had engineered what came after failure. He hadn't just prepared. He'd made the company resilient again. Friday morning brought Martin Caldwell, Bryce's father, former CEO, walking into the boardroom like he still owned the place. Gray suit, red tie, posture straight as steel. But his eyes betrayed fear. He set down a leather folder with the family crest. Mistakes were made, but Bryce's heart was in the right place. He needs a chance. Ava slid a government-sealed document across. Preliminary penalty assessment, $9.4 million. Violation of Regulation 47.2, failure to maintain continuity chain during migration. Martin stared. Color draining. Sophia stood beside the audit chair, laptop open, mirroring the original vendor policy authored by Marcus 2 years earlier. Highlighted clause. No cloud migration shall override physical obligations without explicit documentation and signature from the designated custodian. Corey Bryce did not obtain that signature, Sophia said evenly. He approved the override using unauthorized clearance. Martin looked stricken. Why didn't anyone stop him? The audit chair replied. Marcus filed procedural objections. They were dismissed. Sophia turned another tab. Failure to obtain clearance may result in individual liability. She added gently. This was governance failure. The system caught it. Marcus built the system. Martin didn't speak again. The board remained silent. No defense for Bryce. Marcus's name was embedded in policy now. His foresight the firewall. Later, Marcus stepped into his reinforced office, matte black desk. Single-framed document on the wall, the original badge assignment for Sophia Reyes. Authorized solely by Marcus Riley. No cosign from Bryce or executives. Pure protocol. I delivered a tablet once and glimpsed him reviewing custom alert matrices he'd designed years ago. Outside. The HR memo went out at 2:37 p.m., recognizing Marcus Riley as new head of continuity systems. He would oversee all physical and hybrid infrastructure policy. No excitement emojis. Just facts. Someone joked with a clipboard emoji in Slack. Zero reactions. By then we knew Marcus wasn't the clipboard. He was the firewall, unremovable. Built to last. The story of Apex Freight's near collapse never made headlines. No hero speeches. No redemption arcs. Just one quiet man in a quiet office ensuring the right signatures existed before the first crisis ignited. Marcus didn't gloat. He didn't rewrite history. He simply returned to what he'd always done, protecting the infrastructure that kept pallets moving and regulations satisfied. Sophia remained in her role, now fully visible in the org chart, a living testament to foresight. Bryce's absence stretched into permanent leave. Rumors circulated about personal liability negotiations, but the fines were paid. Systems slowly restored under Marcus's oversight, and continuity protocols strengthened. I still think about that red badge reader light sometimes, the one that watched silently while arrogance met reality. The company learned, at great cost, that experience isn't nostalgia, it's the quiet architecture holding everything together. Nepotism flashes bright but burns out. Rules, documented meticulously, endure. We overlook the quiet guardians until the moment they become the only path back from the brink. How many other Marcuses sit in cubicles right now, compiling their binders, waiting for the system to recognize who truly holds the keys? The server room door stays locked to the unworthy now. And behind it, the red light still glows steady, unblinking, eternal.